Right. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Craig Blanchette, and I'm an optimal health and lifestyle coach. And it's my pleasure, really my honor, to bring you this what we call TSFL University, or Take Shape for Life University. And what we're doing over the next 22 weeks is we're going through Dr. A's Habits of Health. We decided to do this every year as a health coaching team, because believe it or not, just because we're health coaches doesn't mean we're not on our own health journeys. And so we decided this year, we go through the book once a year, we decided to start at the end of the book and work our way to the beginning. And so we've been at this for a few weeks now, and tonight's chapter is chapter 22, The Principles of Longevity. And so it's a great chapter here. I've enjoyed reading quite a bit. I had a couple of pointers that I wanted to mention, and then I'd love for us to have kind of a round table. We can discuss maybe some of the things that I'll point out here, and then if you guys have some things that you highlighted yourself, that I'd love to hear about those as well. But mine come from page 279 of the Habits of Health book, and what I thought was really interesting is just take it says something about the Anti-Aging Society, and just take a look at all the healthy people in the world who've reached 100 years of age, and none of those people are obese. Think about it. In order to truly be healthy, you need to be at a healthy weight. That it's difficult to be healthy and overweight. You can be at a healthy weight though and still be unhealthy. So they don't always necessarily go directly together. And then it talks about aging being a cellular process. How we live is directly related. How well we live and how long we live is directly related to how well we take care of ourselves and our cells. And the cool thing about aging is that it's actually reversible. Dr. A talks about the difference between chronological aging and biological aging. Chronological aging is next year you're going to be a year older. It's just the way it goes. You can't stop the chronological aging process. Every year you get a year older. But you can stop or reverse the biological aging process by the choices that you make every day. And here's the thing that I thought was fascinating. It says, the changes you make starting now can have an effect on your life expectancy in as little as 3 months. And if you start the Habits of Health today, in just 3 years, you will enjoy the same health you would have if you'd been practicing the Habits of Health your whole life. So you can, over a 3-year period of practicing these habits of health, actually kind of retard or stunt the aging process. And actually, people say, I'm getting older, but I'm feeling younger. That's because of these habits of health that you're actually exercising. And then the other thing that I thought was fascinating is the genetics determines only about 20 to 30% of our health and longevity. And so we have between 60 and 70 percent. We can affect our health 60 to 70% by the choices we make. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that 70% is always greater than 30%. Anybody else have different math there? One is definitely bigger than the other, right? And so the neat thing is that I never have to use my genetics as an excuse, because my genetics I can't change, but my habits I can. And habits are more powerful. So isn't that great? I think it's great. So those are the couple things that I had highlighted just from that first page. There was a lot in the intro, but I really want to toss it out to you guys if you have questions or if you had a comment. The mitochondria is super fascinating to me. So we could talk about that as well. But who wants to jump in and talk a little bit, have a few questions or has a comment about what we've talked about so far? You would have to unmute yourself, by the way. So you can do that by going down to the bottom left corner and clicking on the little microphone. Or if you're on a telephone, just click the screen and click unmute in the bottom line. There's a whole thing about soy in here that I think is quite fascinating because we've got a lot of conversation around soy. And is it good or is it not? So we can talk about that one. Kathy, you had something. Maybe. No.
Can you hear me?
I can. Who's that?
It's Geraldine.
Hi, Geraldine. Can I call you Gigi?
You can call me Gigi.
Okay. Hi.
There's somebody on our team, on our challenge team, by the name of Gigi.
Oh, really?
She's getting no points. It's making me look bad, I
Oh,
feel.
okay. We know you're Geraldine then.
We have to reach out to her and get her
Yes.
started. So I just wanted to share that I only got through the first part of that chapter, but you mentioned this, how empowering that habits are. And, if we just, I was one that blamed a lot on genetics for a long time. But it's just empowering to know that you actually have it within your power to change most everything that's going on with your body. So it's pretty cool.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. Yes. Anything else here? As we can go through it kind of one page at a time. By the way, if you guys are reading this, maybe it's just boring, or maybe you haven't taken time to read it. So it really doesn't take too long to get through this. Probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We'll get you through this in a week, and then you can. I'm sure some of these things will jump out to you. Because guess what? I can read the book. I can read your book, but I can't read your book for you. I can eat your meal replacements, but I can't eat your meal replacements for you.
Really?
I can drink your water, but I can't drink your water for you. Martin.
I was going to say, to steal a little bit of Elwood Blues, we should read this because this is actually good stuff.
Good stuff. There you go.
But I was on page 280.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of going over this, since you took my points about the 30% and some other things. So
yeah.
I had forgot about this. I knew that from the time we're 21, we lose muscle mass every year unless we do something about it. But I didn't know, or I forgot, that from the age of 30, that every 8 years our aging doubles.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought, shoot. So us, by trying to practice the habits of health or exercise, we're really not running uphill. We're just trying to run so we can not go downhill.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if that how you say when you get older, life seems to go by faster. Who here thinks that as we've gotten older, it seems like life just goes by like a year. We just passed 2015, folks. We're in 2016. Actually, we've already passed January. Oh my goodness, what's happening? We only got 11 months left, right? And I wonder if it's a concept there where it seems like every 8 years we double. And so as we do get older, it does seem like life does go by faster.
So you wonder why we're kind of sort of sick in our 30s, and maybe 40s we're not feeling as good, and then 50s we're just feeling like we're going 15 rounds.
Yeah, I work with a lot of people that are pretty overweight, and they're in their mid 20s or 30s, and they actually don't have any blood issues yet. They're not on any medications. They don't really have any issues, but be sure they're coming unless they make changes. You're not gonna outrun that one.
Craig, this is Ernie.
Yeah. Hi, Ernie.
You bringing that up, we were talking earlier today, I've lost 17 pounds over the holidays. I've got probably, 12 to 13 more to go, but it's just stunning the amount of energy I've got. It's just mind-blowing how much I'm able to do.
Yeah.
That 17 pounds.
Yeah. Well, and there's two things that work there. The 17 pounds, without question, is great. You've also had some increased water and sleep. So you have your body's just kind of, and it's getting highly nutrient, lots of nutrients. But the other piece is when we're in a ketosis, a mild state of ketosis, which is what, in other words, we call it fat burn, where our body is actually taking the fat and it's refining it into fuel. So it's like a crude oil refinery. And when you're in that fat burning state, usually you have 20 to 25% more energy than normal. And So I noticed that a lot of people, we talk about habits of healthy sleep, and when they're in fat burn, they're like, man, I can't sleep. I've got all this energy. What do I do? And so it's a little bit of a juggling act there when you're in fat burn. But I love that fat burn feel. You know, one of the problems with fat burn is that it works. And eventually you get down to where you have no more fat to burn. And then you have to get out of fat burn, and you're like, man, I wish I had that energy of being in fat burn. But the reality is eventually you will get to a healthy weight, and then you'll have you'll have to deal with a little less energy and a whole lot more health. Excellent. Well, great stuff there. This is a pretty intense chapter, and he talks in these little boxes here on page 282 and 283, the mechanisms for longevity, you know, and insulin growth factor, and free radicals, and there's a lot of stuff, you know, inflammation, a lot of these things that we do with our program are really focused on reducing inflammation in our bodies. Inflammation is kind of like it's like rust. It just kind of rots our bodies. And so when we eat low glycemic foods and with a low glycemic lifestyle, which is what the 5 and 1 does, but it's also what our 3 and 3 and our 4 and 2, some of these after weight loss strategies that we're going to learn about in chapter 8, chapter 9. But if we continue to eat low glycemic foods and we don't look at, oh, I'm just eating this way because I'm on a diet, we actually learn what's low glycemic. It's low inflammation as well. And so we can actually fine tune our health at a really, really sweet level by not going back to those high glycemic foods, because after all, you've lost all your weight. One of our coaches, Betsy, she calls high glycemic foods old people food, because when she eats them, she feels like an old person. And I thought that was really fascinating how she said that. Yeah, Don, you raised your hand. Did you have something to say there, or just? I can unmute you. It's probably, oh, you got it? Here, let me do it for you. I got it for you. There you go. You're good to go.
There we go. I was just agreeing with you. You know, I will be turning 64 on my next birthday. And I have been eating high glycemic foods. And the older you get and the more glycemic food you eat, the older you feel. And I was talking to Martin, you know, I'm so anxious. I got my box of food today. I'll be starting the program tomorrow, the 5 and 1. And I am just fired up to get going on this thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've got an insulin pen sitting in there on my nightstand right next to my bed. And my goal is to get rid of that thing and throw it in the trash can. So that's what I'm up for.
Oh, so good, Don. Great to have you join us. Super excited for you. I was so thrilled to hear the things that you wanted to do, and know that when you practice the things that you'll be learning, good things happen. It's just that fact. Let's see here. Kim and Jeremy, I unmuted you.
Yeah, I guess I don't wanted to call attention to page 286, and I was just thinking about my grandparents. They lived to be into their 90s. They didn't make it to 100, but one thing I just thought intuitively was that the mental attitude must come into play at some point, because what I knew about them is that they were always really positive and always looked at the good things in life, no matter how bad things might have been. And they lived through some hard times. But at the bottom of 286, they also pointed out some of those other things, the mental side of things as well, just in the healthy habits, being in powerful social networks, active lifestyles, close relationships with extended family and friends, and a strong sense of purpose. And that resonated with what I knew of my grandparents and what I hope to have when I'm getting older. So.
Yeah, it's interesting, Kim, just as you're talking about that, one of the things, some of you are health coaches that are with us, and some of you are not, or some of you are formally or health coaches, and some of you are informally health coaches. Because I think when we're learning these things, we're telling somebody and we're coaching somebody, right? But what interesting when you talk about those things, it's a strong sense of purpose. Do you think that health coaches have a strong sense of purpose? I know they do. They have a strong sense of meaning and purpose. Now, I don't know every profession out there. I'm sure many professions have meaning and purpose, but I don't think all of them do. But I'm certain every health coach does. And then second thing is the community. A healthy, think about this. What if you were to be able to be part of an optimal living community, right? What does that mean? Well, this is it. This is a taste of that. That's what we're trying to create here. An optimal living community where you have meaning and purpose. It sounds like what we're doing here is exactly what the people that the Okinawans did and had in their lives, and we have that here. And I'm thankful for each one of you showing up here, because guess what? Without you, I had no community, right? But you guys are showing up here every week, and we're talking through these things, and that's just awesome.
One other thing, Craig. Oh, sorry, Mary.
No, go ahead.
I will just add briefly at the end of that. I also, forever, Jeremy has talked about his bad genes and that he's going to die way before me. So I was happy to see that maybe that excuse isn't really the reason. So that was encouraging.
Yeah, that is. There's hope for you, Jeremy. You're going to be around a while. Mary.
He looks younger already, right?
I know he does. I was like, man, look at him. Oh, he's sitting behind him. Oh, I got it.
He's shrinking. It's Benjamin Button.
Mary, you had something?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You have a beautiful voice.
Okay, the little thing's spinning, so I didn't know what it was doing. I lived on Okinawa for a year, and I think that half of the thing is that they, whenever they're not moving around, they're like, you'd see them along the sidewalk, like the construction workers and stuff, and they'd be squatted eating their lunch. And I thought, that is amazing. How do they even do that? So I'm pretty sure that they burn calories while they're eating, just doing that.
Well, Alex was saying sitting down versus standing up, you burn 1 to 2 versus 2 to 3. And then if you're sitting down kind of in that squatted position, I know you're probably burning more calories than we do sitting in chairs.
Right.
And plus you have to be kind of thin to be able to do that. Right? Because otherwise your belly gets in the way.
Yeah. No, it was pretty amazing. And we used to have competitions to see who could do it for the longest,
That's fun.
My thing's still spinning, so I can't mute myself. So if you want to keep me under control, you're going to have to do it.
Did you hear that, folks? That's incredible. Okay, we'll see what I can do there. All right, guys. So next week we have actually, if you guys want to read the little preface here, 276, 277, it mainly just talks about the phase. If we got 5 phases, we're actually moving into the longevity phase, which is it's really fascinating, the 3 eras of medicine, and we're moving into that 3rd era of medicine where we're not just using antibiotics and things to deal with infectious disease, but we're actually talking about longevity and preventative care and all those kinds of things, and that's where we are today. What's real interesting is that a lot of medicine hasn't really caught up. We're as health coaches, we're way out in front of the traditional medicine model, where they will diagnose and then prescribe. I found, I know Dr. Carulli, he said that working with the most advanced medicines that he had at his disposal, he could only take someone's A1C down to around the 8 or 9. He couldn't get it down to the 5 and 6, which is actually the healthy range. And so people would come in with a 13, and he could take it down to a 9. Well, my Uncle Norm, he's been on program a month, and his A1C, he took it back in November, and he started program in January, and it was 13.6 back in November, and he got tested here mid-January, and he was at 6.3. And the doctor, about just their jaw just dropped. They couldn't believe it. And what's interesting is that we think of doctors as powerful. They got these powerful magic weapons, but we actually have more powerful tools when it comes to lifestyle change and a lot of these blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes. We actually, with this book here, have more, and guess what? There's no side effects. Actually, the only side effects, some of the side effects from walking or exercise is you might smell. There's a side effect. You might have sore feet. You might wear out your shoes a little quicker. But to me, I don't know if you want to call those side effects. One of the side effects, those are good side effects. We call those benefits. Well, I don't know. Maybe the smelling is not a benefit. But the neat thing about the stuff you learn here is you don't have those dangerous side effects that could possibly kill you. I talked with another client recently, and she said that somebody in the cubicle next over to her went in and had gastric bypass, and a month and a half later died. Right? So people are going and getting these gastric bypass operations because they really want to make the changes to their, they're so desperate that they're willing to have those pretty serious surgeries. And one of the side effects is death, right? And I don't know about you, but I've never heard of anybody dying from practicing the habits of health system or going on the 501. That's just so profound to me. And the other issue is that lots of people that have had the gastric bypass or bariatric surgery, they find out that a few years down the road, they need the habits of health anyway because they are so nutrient deficient that they can't get the nutrients. And our actual food has a really great delivery system for those nutrients, but they have to learn that lifestyle thing either before or after. Right? So anyway, I love working with people that have had that surgery because we are a godsend for them because they realize that it's now life or death and they need to learn some skills that the surgery did not teach them. So anyhow, it's been great talking with you guys tonight. And any last comments as we close? I'm going to launch talk about next week, what we're going to talk about next week. Dean, go ahead.
Hey guys, I just wanted to share with you, I attended a wellness ambassador meeting at the company I work for, which is Intel, so this is not confidential. And I thought I was listening to Dr. Zay's presentation, and here's a company who talk about they have to measure change, they don't do things unless they can measure change, about to implement a host of volunteers for wellness ambassadors that are essentially doing what Dr. A is talking about. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Hope that that's edifying too.
Yeah, well, and that's really forward thinking for a company too. So that's pretty exciting. Pretty darn exciting. So thanks, Dean. Well, by the way, welcome back. There's a story there we're going to share with you in a minute. So next week, chapter 21, I call this the fulfillment chapter, and it talks about creating well-being, taking the stress out of life, and really it has you go through. I really want to encourage you, if you haven't really been doing the homework up to this point, take some time and really just read this one. You won't be sorry you did. It really has you ask some basic questions, like if I keep doing what I'm doing today, in 5 years, will I be happy with where I'm at? And it's a good question to ask, because what if you were where you're at and you weren't happy about it and you did nothing to change it? Well, then you're going to be there and you're going to be unhappy, right? And so what if you were to make some small changes, not big scary ones? We don't want to do the big scary ones. We'll just do the small ones that aren't scary. And what if we made just a couple of adjustments? And that's actually one of the things that Dean, we're going to showcase Dean here. He's made a couple of small changes, and that's why he's with us tonight. He used to work on Tuesday nights, but that's changed. So I want to encourage you guys to read through chapter 21 and really consider, taking the score, your fulfillment, depression scale, and success failure scale on page 270. Score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 there, and then go through and read through the 273, where it talks about find some final tips on what really matters: following your passion, taking up a new hobby, enjoying the arts, exploring nature, getting in touch with your spiritual side, and spending time with others. And so with that, we're going to conclude this portion of the show. And next up, we're going to have our